Okay, now we're recording. Yay. Anyway, let's see. Thomas is here. I'm here. Lonnie's here. Will Harris is here. John Bowman. Darren Bellery is here somewhere. He's hiding behind the fan there in the corner.
All right, I don't see myself up there yet, so where's my camera? I see a red line. What am I don't see bottom right there. I see this.
Where are we?
There's your camera.
Where's the camera? Okay.
Who's Ricky?
Right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let me come up here and see if I'm on this side over here. Exactly. I'm gonna go look and see.
Who's Ree?
Marie is Dave Clark. That's my lovely bride.
Oh, okay.
Can you see me? I can't.
Oh, we can't see you.
You can?
Cannot.
Cannot. Well, we're working on it here. I don't see where the camera is.
Okay. Let's.
Okay, there you go. Perfect. All right, you can see it.
And we are recording. I have a big sign now on the bottom of my screen. It says Zoom.
Gotcha. Kirby.
Yes.
Anyway, we have. Is Gary White is here? No, not yet. James Sprite? No, not here. Thomas is here. Richard Stefani is not. And is Paul Haynes here? Not yet. Okay. Anyway, okay. Right now, I want to just while we're waiting, I want to toss out an idea, and if you think it's worth pursuing, we'll pursue it another time. What are your thoughts on? I've had inquiries from a couple of you on Jujitsu, and my question is, I could theoretically run a Zoom, 1 or 2 Zoom Saturdays, and kind of show you how to do it. Although I'm sure most of you know how to do techniques very slowly anyway, whether you call it Kimi no Kata or Kata no Nagi or whatever else. But the Jushin is essentially you're doing Jujitsu techniques very slowly. It's much like Tai Chi. Any brown or black belt in Jiu-Jitsu or Aikido, it should be an absolute no-brainer. And I don't know if we want to get a quote certification program going, or just say, I can show you a couple of routines, and then you can during the week or over 2 weeks develop your own routine. And then we come back and a certificate is issued saying that you have participated in a training course on Jushin, yada, yada, yada. The intent is not only for your students to realize that they can practice Jiu-Jitsu techniques by themselves, and they can get some good exercise in the process, some good stretching exercise. But for those of you with a entrepreneurial spirit, you might want to offer it as an alternate class, so to speak, because there's a particularly now there's no contact involved in it. It's a non-contact activity. So it's something you may want to. I don't need an answer now. If you want to get back to me later in an email, if you want to do this or not, you can let me know. But I'm willing to do it because I think it's not that all of you, I'm sure, know how to do this. It's just getting it together into something that makes sense. And I'm not looking for a set rigid program, such as everybody has, if you decide to teach this, where everybody's teaching exactly the same thing the same way, because I know that won't happen, because jujitsu doesn't work that way anyway. We all have our little fine tuning things. So anyway, it's just an idea. I wanted to toss it out and you can get back to it later. Okay. Our topic today is, at this point, is and I forget who brought it up. Who brought up that having knife attacks, the different kinds of grabs and grips on knife attacks. So Lonnie, so that all of us can kind of get a heads up and start on the same page, rather than blindly running forth. What is the issue? What are you trying to get at? What do you want?
Well, I'm in Central Virginia, and a lot of folks in this part of the country have pocket knives. So, from a defensive standpoint, a self-defensive standpoint, the likelihood of you running into somebody as an aggressor with a pocket knife is a high percentage. And so, knife defenses become something that we kind of specialize in, and also, of course, Professor Tony Maynard is my senior teacher, not senior in age, but just senior in terms of experience, and he's a Marine, and so he brings something to the American combat jujitsu, particularly in terms of weapons defense and also and knives. So that's why I brought up that, is because it's one of those frequent possible encounters. Not that I personally run into anybody, with the knives, but as I move about, I always notice that there are knives clipped to people's pockets.
What I will say is that and I've had one experience with a knife attacker, and he just got stupid, which is why he lost. It was actually at the school I was teaching at, and he started flicking, he's trying to start flicking his knife from hand to hand. So that went. But in any case, if I were in physical confrontation and I saw a person had I would get that knife out of there and secure it as best as possible on me, so that he can't use it. The other issue is that, and I learned this from Harold Brocious, if you find someone putting a hand into one of their pockets and you're involved in a physical confrontation, you do whatever you can to keep their hand in that pocket, because you don't know what they're going to pull out. And his favorite toy was a razor blade. He would hide razor blades in all sorts of places. He'd hide small revolvers in all sorts of places too. But no, that's just, and I don't know whether that means you have to body tackle the person, or what, or just get your hand on there and so that you have a good grip on their wrist. So if you pull something out, you're set to go. That's about all you can do proactively. If he's got, where's Lonnie? Where's your cohort has a pocket knife there?
We've got which is not dull.
Yeah, but yeah.
No, I don't. Oh, by the way, with a wood knife, if you're training with a wood knife, because I've had this happen to one of my students, file down the tip so it's rounded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's something for your own safety. I had one of my Brownville students who did a stupid, and he decided to block a wooden knife with the palm of his hand, and it just tore his hand open. And I mean, the scar didn't look like, he got a lot of stitches, but fortunately there was no nerve damage. But if you use wooden knives, make sure you file that end down so it's rounded. What else? Nothing is safe. Okay. Okay. So you're okay. Where's the pocket knife? Okay. How does it open? Okay. Does anyone have? Okay. It opens. Okay. Relatively. Can you open it one-handed?
Yeah, I've got to. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, I mean, if they have to open it two-handed and you see them doing this, you've got to get in there and get the wrist that is holding the knife. Now, in grabbing the wrist, okay, it's really important. Normally I say keep a fairly loose grip on people's wrists so you can use a C grip and you can move around. But if someone's got a weapon, you need to grab that wrist as firmly as you can, as your life depends on it. Okay. And if you want to call it a death grip, I don't care what you call it, but you've got to grab that wrist and keep him from moving that wrist, because that prevents him from using the knife as easily. Okay. So let me borrow what we're going to do. See, who can I pick on? I don't know if Lonnie and his cohort wanted to do this, and we'll give you a tactic, and I don't know where it'll go for sure, or we can have Will and two of his students. Lonnie, you want to do this with your?
Yeah. As one thing I also want to say, Professor Kirby, is that two of my senior students are folks who have got limited range of motion.
Okay.
And specifically, this is Josh. And Josh, what is your limited range of motion?
I have cerebral palsy from affect the mainly left side, and my gait is very narrow. So imagine like your shoes being tied together and you only have X amount to go as far as a wide stance.
Right.
And that's like in a 360. So yeah, maintaining my balance and, making sure keeping that gait proper, when doing a technique is vital for me as far as modification as well.
Okay. Let's try this and see what happens if we can get both of you to stand up and back up a bit. And we're going to have Lonnie be the vicious attacker. And what I want, okay, first I want you to change positions. Or maybe, no, that doesn't make any difference. Okay. I just want, Lonnie, what I want you to do is you're going to flick that knife open. Okay. And okay, as he flicks it open, what's your other person's name? Josh. And can you deflect it to your right, block his right forearm use your right forearm, block his right forearm, and then slide down and grab his wrist as firmly as you can with your right hand. Can you do that? Okay, continue to move his hand to the right. Okay, now take your left hand, form it into a cup, in Japanese called sara, the cup, and come in under his elbow so that yeah, you can do it that way. Okay, now what I want you to do, you're not going to push his elbow. I want you to rotate your hand, and you rotating your hand will turn his elbow. Keep hold of his wrist because he's got a knife there. That little puppy can hurt. Okay, now at this point, step forward with your left. Can you step forward with your left foot and continue that rotation of your hand? Okay, and take him down. Can you? Okay, now Lonnie, I got to ask: is he pushing down on your elbow, or is he pushing from there, or is he pushing from here?
He's pushing from the top part.
Okay. What I want you to do is, I want you to be pushing from the inside. So try it again. Not on the elbow.
So,
Outside, other way, no, other way. Okay,
all
right.
right.
Okay, now come in under his elbow,
Mhm.
Okay.
and rotate it. But stay on the inside of that elbow. Now step forward. Now you've got one okay, you've got the knife behind him, which was good. Okay, because it's out of your gut now. If you want, you could go into an arm bar. I think that would be okay. I think that would be kind of iffy. Okay. The other alternative, bring it back out. The other alternative is to start going again, rotate that elbow. Now, get that knife hand out across your body. Not across your body. There you go. Now, rotate that elbow and take him down. Now, move yourself inside so you're right next to him. Get the side of your body right into his armpit. There you go. Okay, now from here, you can either, I don't know what your physical limitation is. Okay, so this is maybe iffy at this point. If you're really agile, you could get your left knee up there and drop it down on the inside of his armpit and just smash him into the ground. Okay? But I don't know whether that's within your capability.
Gotcha. Probably would be kind of like sumo under the stomach and press.
Okay, you can, or if you want to, are you familiar with the Sotomaki Komi outside winding armbar takedown? Yeah, you can just rotate your left arm over so that his shoulder is in your armpit. His shoulder is in your armpit.
Shoulders in the armpit.
Wait,
Okay.
left side.
Left side. Okay.
Okay, Josh, his shoulder should be right in your armpit. Get real friendly with him. There you go. Okay, and now you're just going to sit down or rotate and take him down. Don't worry about his face.
Yep. Face.
And if you break his glasses, he'll pay for them. Anyway, okay, so that's one alternative. The arm lock is another alternative for that. The point is, if you see him opening a knife, you don't. That's going to take maybe a second, but you got to use that second, because until that knife is open, it's fairly useless as a knife. Okay, and sometimes you just gotta, how do you say, get in sync with what the attacker is doing, and help him on his way. Okay, another one for if he's any other one for opening a knife. Let's let Will and his group have a little fun here, because they're doing a kata no chair. Con chair here in Southern California. Okay. Okay, we want to have. Okay. Who has a knife? Name.
Mike. His name's Mike.
Pardon?
His name is Mike.
Okay, you're echoing.
M-I-K-E, Mike.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Mike.
Yeah, I can hear you. Just as it like you're in a huge empty room with a lot of echo. But
Yeah, we are in a huge empty room. Sorry.
okay, so what's your uke's name?
Mike.
Mike. Okay, Mike. What I want you to do is start out with a knife in your pocket. Okay. Don't rip a t-shirt. Those are very valuable. Okay, you can rip those later. Okay, now I want, Will, what I want you to do is you're going to be standing, you're having a verbal confrontation, and you see him reaching for his knife. Okay, now you did the right thing. You've got to get that hand and grab it, keep it where it's at. Grab it like your life depended on it.
Retention.
Okay. And can you do that with a thumb and just one finger, or are you gripping with everything?
Kind of everything. I'm pushing with the palm of my hand on the back of his hand, driving it into his hip.
Okay. Now, there are two options here. Okay. One, keep that hand there. You don't want him taking that hand out. Okay. One is to get the knife out of his pocket. Of course, whether it's open or not is irrelevant. Okay. And this is where sometimes law enforcement people run into some issues with, I thought the guy had a weapon, but if he's putting his hand in his pocket, he's creating essentially what he's doing. He's creating the potential of a weapon attack. And you don't have to wait until he produces a weapon. Okay, if he has one, so much the better. Once you're in court, but you have to rely on your own best judgment. Okay. So you've stopped his hand from coming out. You're now going to come in with your right foot and take your right. Okay, you've got a couple of things you can do here. Number one, if you want to be mean about it, you're going to come in, put your right hand on his right shoulder or left shoulder, whichever you prefer, and you're going to knee him in the groin. The distraction. Okay, now, once you've kneed him, you're going to grab onto that valuable T-shirt, and you're going to pull it forward and down as you pivot your right leg back. Okay, now that may take the knife out of his pocket, knife hand out of his pocket, and then from there I'm going to add Jim Spreck and Paul Haynes. From there, you need to put them in you need to put them in an arm lock. Okay. One of the things you have to be aware of, just because you need to practice this in the dojo, just because you put the guy down in an arm lock or however you take him down, you don't let go of him right away. There's a concept called. Good morning, Jim. There's a concept. There's a concept called. Morning, Paul. There's a concept called control. Okay. And just because you take a person down, and unless you've broken something of his, and he can't get up, you need to maintain control of him until you believe you can retreat in a safe manner. Okay. I mean, on the street, you may have brought Mike down, but he's not hurt. And if you let him go right away, he can get up and try and hurt you again. And you don't want to be in that situation. You don't give. Once there's a physical confrontation, you don't give a person a second chance. Once you establish physical control, then you may be able to rationalize with him and talk him down and put him into another type of control hold, bring him up and slowly, reduce your level of force, so to speak, as appropriate. Okay. But you just don't, once they're down, you just don't let them go. That's not safe for you. And it's also not safe for the attacker, surprisingly, because you may have to hurt him worse the next time. Okay. If he has a knife in his pocket again, and hand in his pocket, if you don't want to take him down. Okay, again, he puts his hand on the knife. You're gonna trap him. Okay, now from here, okay, what I want you to do. Okay, what can we do from here? You can strike him in the head, okay, but don't hit him there because that could hurt you. If you're gonna hit him in the head, go for the cheekbone or the nose. Those are the only two places you hit a person in the head, because those two things, they fracture easily.
You're slam.
They're very bloody. The person can't see what happened. They hurt, and that creates a certain amount of psychological fear, because you've got this pain and this mess on your hands or on your head, and you can't see what's going on. Okay, so what I want you to do, you've got him there. What I want you to do is to grab his left shoulder. Grab his left shoulder with your right hand. Can you spin him around to your left? Okay, now up here. You can't keep that left hand there too long, because it's not. There you go. You're gonna good. You switched, okay, and now from there, if I wouldn't at this point, I would not want to get his hand out of the pocket, because if he has a blade there and you try and put it into an arm lock, you could create a real mess on the front of your shirt. Okay, so from here, what I want you to, if you can you shift your right hand grip so that there you go. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, now from there, what I want you to do is take your left, this is like doing surgery. Take your left instep and give him a tap behind his left knee. Take him down. Okay, now from there, once he's worried about that, now you can pull his hand out. Pull his hand out and to your right. Pull his right hand out and pull it straight out. Okay, now, at this point, you're going to roll him around to his right, and you're going to step over him with your left foot. Keep going. Oh, you're being so nice. Sit down on him. I mean, let's be real. Yeah. Once you get that left foot, whether it's on the left side of his head or you decide to sit on his shoulder.
I want to ask somebody to switch in. I tweaked my back this week.
Oh, okay. So we're here.
Slip.
Down. Pull it forward. Shoulder forward. Bring him around. Put your grip. Bring him down to your right. Step over him with, there you go. Have a seat. Okay, and now you can take his knife away. Okay. Now, you're not done with him yet. Okay. What you needed, first of all, you need to secure the knife. And there are two arguments on securing a knife. And I don't know which one is best, because they both have valid arguments. One is stick it in your back pocket. Okay, secure it in your back pocket. The downside is that someone else can take the knife out and throw it and use it against you. Okay. If you throw the knife away, someone else could pick it up and use it against you. Okay. If there's no good, if on the other hand, who's the one that taught that one? I can't think of his name. He's in Virginia. He used to be a Secret Service agent. What's his name? He's retired now. Back in Virginia, or
Bruce Jones.
Bruce Jones. Okay. What I think he recommended was to take. Let me grab a knife. I'll use a flashlight here. Was to grab it, stick it under your armpit. Yeah. With the blade sticking out. So if someone came at you from behind, they'd theoretically stab themselves, but this would secure it and prevent anyone else from getting it. This is good, except it freezes up your left arm and shoulder. You know, so you kind of, you know, it's kind of like, which do you want to do? Okay, now let's assume you've secured the knife. Okay, now you're not done with him yet, because you still have to get up safely, assuming he's conscious or whatnot. Okay, so what you need to do is, can you set a wrist press on his right hand?
Yes.
Wrist press. Okay, can you turn it so his fingers are up? Fingers are up. Now set a wrist press. Okay. Now you don't need to hold with your left hand. If you've got a good wrist press, you should be able to secure it with your right hand. Okay, wrist press is. Okay. Now, and I need to have you, okay, there are two ways you can do this. If you're planning, if you want to put him into an arm lock from here, you need to rotate off of him in a counterclockwise circle. You're gonna, no, the other way. Keep that wrist press. Okay, and grab his elbow and put him into an arm lock. Get your right leg out of the way. Okay, and that can put him into an arm lock. Okay, and now from there, if you feel you're secure, you can get up, or you can cuff him, or whatever you know you want to do. Okay. Okay, and you can also rotate the other way depending on what you do with the wrist lock. But you need that wrist lock for the control. Okay. Whenever you have an attacker, your number one rule is control the attacker. And I'm sure you know there are varying degrees of that, all the way from a little bit of pain to breaking something. And I know you will always use your good judgment. It's really important, because I've been to court once on this, and I've done a couple of depositions too. In a courtroom, you may have to explain what reasonable force is, not as a law enforcement officer, but as a civilian. Okay, and you may have to establish that what you did, whatever hold you had, did not cause the pain or whatever else happened. It was his resistance to the hold that caused whatever pain to happen. Okay? And you have to approach it from that viewpoint. And you know, once I gave my explanation, the judge looked at the defendant's attorney, and the defendant's attorney just put his head down and shook it back and forth because he knew he had lost. You have to be able to explain yourself. You have to be able to explain what you did in a manner that makes sense. Okay. And you've got to forget terms like ki and mushin and all this other stuff. You have to be able to do it in simple English because the judge has to understand. I'm not trying to put down the judge, but the judge has to understand in clear language what you're doing. Okay. Okay. Do we want to do anything else with knives and pockets or stuff like that?
I mean, from a slashing.
Okay, slash. Okay. And the first question I'm going to ask is, how is the person holding the knife?
Yes, that's the grip piece. Yeah.
Okay.
On this one right here versus
that one. Okay, very good. Okay. The knife straight out really isn't too much of a problem. All you have to do is watch out for the knife when it's coming across. And you can do it one of two ways. Who else is it? Darren, do you have any of your ukes here today, or?
No, Sensei, unfortunately, they all had conflicts today.
Okay.
I apologize for that. I'll be back on track on the next workshop.
Okay. Let me use Will and let's have Mike and the other person. Okay. If he's coming in for a high swipe is probably the easiest thing to deal with. Now I want the knife straight out. Knife straight out. Okay. If it's high, like he's trying to decapitate you, not downward, across. Okay. Will has two choices. Okay. He can either step in really aggressively and block the knife with both forearms. Okay. Okay. And then grab the shoulder, grab the wrist. And if you want to backhand him across the throat or elbow him, whatever you want. Okay. But you've got to watch out for that knife. Okay. Okay. So that's one of your options. Okay. Or you can knee him or grab his right shoulder. You can do all sorts of things you want to him. The hard part on knife attacks is the block. Once you get past the block, everything else should kind of fall into place. If you want to let him step back out, Will. Your other option is if he's going to do a high swipe is to let it pass and then step in behind him. Okay. And now again, your first thing you're going to do is you're going to grab the wrist, and from there you're open to do anything else you want. Okay. You've got to grab that wrist and grab hold of it so that your life depends on it, because it does. Okay. Right. And then, you can do, sort of like a Comey, you can elbow roll takedown, shoulder locker takedown, and, give him and if he happens to cut himself in the process, that's his fault. He had his hands on the knife. One thing you have to be aware of with your students and explain to them that if they are attacked with a knife and they do some techniques, there's a good potential that they will actually cut their attack. Okay. And I hate to say that's the way it goes, but you're protecting yourself, and he's the one with the weapon. And your intent is never to injure a person or cut them with a knife or anything like that. So anyway, that's just something you need to cover with students. Okay, if he has the knife edge protected by his forearm, like Mike is talking now, that's considerably more dangerous. Okay. And again, if Will comes in and blocks it from the inside, which is something I really don't advise, switch positions, and I'll show you why. Because Will is going to have a difficult time grabbing towards that wrist without getting cut. And if the insides of his fingers get cut, Will's in trouble. Okay, if he can get inside of the top edge of the knife, unless it's a double-edged knife, okay, which you have to assume, okay, that's not a good place to be. Okay, so if it's double-edged, I usually don't advise coming from the inside. I mean, if you know it's a single-edged blade, that's one thing. If you don't know, all he has to do is take that knife and bring it in, if he can bend it enough, and try and turn his wrist, and you're in trouble. Your hand is in trouble. Okay. Recommendation on a knife swipe like that is let it go by you, and then you're going to come in, and he's going to come back, and this is a more threatening strike now than going the other way. The first one is a slash. This is a stab, and if he stabs you, it's going to be messy. So What you need to do is you need to block with both of your forearms. Okay. Ideally, your left forearm is in the right place. Your right forearm, it either has to be the upper part of his forearm, or both of your forearms have to block his upper arm. Okay, now, once you've done the block, okay, and he's got that knife sticking out, and it may be sticking out, which is good, or it may still be against the side of his forearm, which is still good. Okay. What you need to do with your right hand now, because you're on the outside in your more protected position, is you can either continue to, let's turn this around a little bit. Turn it around. Can we turn it around?
Yes, double right, that's right.
Okay. If you want, you can slide your right hand down and trap his wrist. Okay. And then you're set to go. Except again, you've to come back out again, grab his wrist. Okay. The problem is the knife is pointing towards you. Okay. So what you have to do now is, yeah, that's not good. What you need to do is rotate his wrist forward. Okay. To try to get that knife pointing away from your body. Okay. That's going to be hard to do. Okay. And then if you get it away from your body or up, you've got a chance. And I would probably, once I get that down, my next move would probably be to just smash in on his elbow and dislocate the elbow, because that knife is in a threatening position to you. Okay. And a dislocated elbow is not a serious injury. Okay. It hurts like hell, but I've had it done once. It hurts like hell, but he'll drop the knife. Okay. And then you can go into whatever other technique you may want to. Keeping in mind that once you injure a person, they really become very dangerous, because their adrenaline is really going to kick in, and they're not going to feel pain as much. And if you successfully injured a person, dislocated it, or broken a bone or something of that sort, you need to get away from that person as fast as you safely can. Because if they're not feeling pain that much, and they've gone wild because of the adrenaline, it's amazing how many crazy people win fights. Okay. I mean, it's sad that you have to think of all this stuff. Okay. Back to the knife attack. Okay, I want you to, again, a backhand swipe. Do the backhand swipe. You're gonna double, I want the knife against the edge of your forearm. I want the knife back here. There you go. Okay, you're gonna come in and block it again. Okay, now your left hand is going to slide down his wrist, grab the back of his hand.
Right hand.
No, left hand. You're going to end up doing an Sotomaki Komi, outside winding takedown, surprisingly. Okay. And again, you want to get him so that his shoulder is in your armpit. So pull him forward. There you go. Okay, now from there, you can either do a standing armbar, okay, or you can simply kick your legs up and say goodbye to him, because that will dislocate his shoulder, probably rearrange his nose. If it pokes out the back of his head, ask him if he needs a Kleenex. Okay, so that's your alternative. And again, if you're standing that way, get back, back again, get back into that standing armbar. Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to turn your back a little more against him. Okay, and bring your left foot forward a little bit. Left foot forward a little bit. Yeah. See, what this does is if and you'll notice a difference. If Will keeps his posture, if he keeps himself straight, see how much further down Mikey has to go. Okay, because Mikey isn't liking this. Okay, you know, the serial Mikey, read anything. Anyway, commercial, TV commercial. Anyway, so that's why your position is so important. Okay, because by keeping yourself upright and tied in against him, it forces the attacker further down, which makes the rest of the technique easier. Yes, Lonnie. Did you have a question, or Janet?
Okay, so when you did something, when people enact the initial sort of knife blow, where you're using a blade forward technique, what they generally show is a equivalent of a roundhouse punch, where the arm extends out laterally a lot before the knife comes in. If I were throwing a blade forth knife shot, I would be coming straight in from the shoulder like this to do a slash. I wouldn't give somebody my arm way out here. How would you protect against a blade that came in like this on a slash? Excuse me, I don't remember the name of the gentleman with the white shirt. If you bring your wrist up near your shoulder, and then essentially do a palm up punch at the person's chest, but a slash, so that the knife comes in laterally. That's how, yes, exactly. That's how I would do a slash. I wouldn't give somebody my arm way out here to grab onto. So what would be a defense against that, Sensei?
Professor Kirby?
Yes.
Yeah, I think with media, the TV, in other words, right? You see so many exotic knife stuff.
Exchange.
Yeah.
Right, and so the average Joe, if I may use Joe non-discriminatory, right? They're not going to be as sophisticated as a martial artist in thinking, and that's who I'm hoping I'm fighting, an average Joe, opposed to Grisella out in California, who's been trained by Donna Santo, and she uses that point. When she throws a blade, it goes out like a punch and is brought back like it's hot.
Yep.
Right? But that's the person that I'm hoping I'm not fighting. I know hope is not a plan, but yeah, that's the person I don't want to be fighting.
If we've got a straight thrust, is Janet? Can we call it a straight thrust?
Yeah.
And is that okay?
Well, yeah, that's what the gentleman just did is right. It's not actually a thrust. It is a slash, but it is a slash without extending the arm laterally. It's a tight-in slash.
Like a hot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Will is coming to the inside. Okay, locked it. He needs to trap the wrist. Okay. Oh, I got so much fun with this. Arm bar. Then after we've done with the arm bar, then we're going to go into a shoulder locker takedown. Arm bar. Take the shoulder out. Now, instead of taking the shoulder out with this technique, I haven't seen too many people teach this, but I'll show it since we're all upper belts here. Go into the shoulder lock takedown. And I'm going to ask you to be very careful with this. You're going to get to this point, come around here. Okay, now from here, we're taking it backwards. And you're not really going to do this with his shoulder. You're going to let go of his arm, because this is a really high risk injury at this point. You're going to shoot out straight to his right side. To your left side. You're going to shoot straight to your left side. Okay. Oh, you were so nice to him. Okay. When you're here and you have him, I wish I had a uke here. Okay, I've got him here for the shoulder locker takedown. Rather than Yeah. You've got him here for the shoulder lock. What do we got? Shot. Now, rather than continuing and taking them down forward, what you're going to do is simply take your left foot, shoot out. There you go. Okay. And trust me,
Can I go back this way?
you won't be.
Shoot out versus forward.
It's just, yeah. It's a variant of the technique.
Yeah, we teach that a lot too. Instead of going back this way, to separate the shoulder by going that way.
You know, that way, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And so that's a variation, you know, you may want to conservatively teach, but you know, in case you don't want him to go backwards and fall down and get dirty. Okay. He's going to come straight in at you again, the same way with the jab. Now, this time we want you to go to the outside if you can. Okay. Now outside again, we're stuck with it. The trick is to get past it. If he's jabbing really fast, regardless, you know, put the knife. Can you put the knife at a right angle to your hand? That way, Jan, or you want it out that way? Or which way do you want the knife edge?
Me?
There you go. Okay.
She was showing.
Okay. So, yeah, you've got to get around that knife. If you think he's going to come in too fast, you need to back up and get out of the way. But he has to take a step if he's going to continue. And then if he takes that step, that's your opening. Because when he's taking that step, at that point, he's not in position. Okay, so if you're going to jab at him quickly, Will, I want you to step back.
Step. 1, 2, 3.
Get out of his way. Okay, can you?
Right.
Yes.
Am I blocking or just stepping out of the way?
What I want you to do is step back and out of the way. I want him to be in a position where he has to take a step to get to you.
Straight back.
That'll work. But let's have him move back so we can see what happens after that. Okay.
This was going straight back, so he's got to step forward.
Yeah. You see,
Back. You step back.
all I want you to do is to step back and out of the way so that he has to take that step with his right foot.
Side versus step back.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now, he can reach me. Okay, you can't. Without the step.
Get the arm out. Go ahead. That point is where you have to come in, because there's nothing he can really do to attack you in that position. He's not balanced to do anything. Okay. Before he can do anything else, he either has to step forward with his left foot to regain his thrust ability, or he has to step back with his right foot.
Give him some shoulder, some blade up.
Yeah. Okay. And again, if he wants to, if you stepped out of the way, it doesn't matter whether he swipes left, right, up or down or whatever. You know, you need to have yourself out of range. Okay. And then once he extends himself, then you can step in and go after him. Because that's essentially what happens when there's a knife attack anyway. If he comes in with a knife thrust, just come in with a knife thrust. No, don't step out of the way. Going for a technique. What happens is you let the weapon itself get past you. It's past you, your body, whether it be a high swipe, where regardless of where the knife is, and then you're always coming in behind that knife, that weapon, to his arm. Okay, it doesn't matter what the technique of doing. That's what you have to do first. You have to get past. You have to get past the. That applies to any weapon. Okay, if you can't get past the weapon, you're going to get hit, cut, whatever. Okay, I don't know if that helped Jan at all.
Yes, yes, it does. What you essentially said was if I don't give you an arm laterally out to the side by doing a roundhouse sort of a strike, that what I as a defender have to do is turn 90 degrees so that I still have that arm extended and I'm now next to it.
Right.
So that was very helpful instruction. Thank you.
You always have to be able to get the arm is blocked out here, whether it's in front of you and it's blocked here or here, okay, or if it's coming down and it gets blocked.
Yeah.
Ideally, right above the elbow, okay, or it's an upward thrust, it gets blocked just below the elbow. Go for about third of the way down, about right there. There's a nice nerve there. And if you block a person really hard, it hurts like hell. Which goes into, and one thing you probably should be doing, and I haven't even done this with my brown belts or up in decades. Get them to wear padding. Form, and no, they're not going to wear it on the streets. People will look at you really weird. But if you get it's a cheap foam padding with a cloth covering for the back of the hand, the forearm, and you can get the same thing for the shin, and some of them also have a shin plus the top of the foot, and they're really, I prefer that one simply because if you're doing arm blocks, you turn the padding around so that you get a double layer of padding in terms of, if one person's hitting and the other person is blocking, and you can turn your padding around, it makes the blocking a lot less painful. The downside is that when you take the padding off, there's a tendency to still block. And that becomes a learning experience. But the plus side is it does help your students learn how to block a lot harder. Okay. And on the street, nothing beats a good block. Anyway, so what else do we have? Yes, sir. John.
I wanted to ask about my favorite knife attack, which is the prison shanking knife, where the person ideally will hide the knife behind them and secure a shoulder and stab multiple times. This is the attack that they're going for. What is a good, great, any defenses that, what's the best way we can defend against that?
I'm sorry, I was trying to get you on the full screen here.
I'm sorry. Are you ready? I can say it again.
Do speaker. Okay. Okay, John, you want to go back again?
Yeah. So in a prison shanking type attack, the person will hide the knife behind their leg and seek to get as close as they can before actually initiating the attack. And will go to grab the cross shoulder, grab straight for shoulder, and jab in. So this is what they're going for, to stab many times right in the gut, and then get away before you bleed out and die. What can we do about that?
Don't sit down. You're not done yet. Get back up. You're not getting out of this easy. Okay. Where do we go?
So, here we go. So the knife.
Okay.
That's called posting.
Guessing we're gonna start with the cross block.
Okay, what it's doing is picking up the speaker view, so I'm gonna have to go back to gallery. Okay. What you want to do is, if they're holding you there, it depends. Okay, you've got 2 or 3 options here. Number one, if they're just grabbing you on the shoulder, do a tight counterclockwise turn. Don't grab her at anything. No, clockwise. And keep going. Okay. I want you to make the whole circle. Just do the whole, and I want your partner to grab. Okay, go. Okay. Someone grabs you. They grab you, they can freeze up half your side, half your body, because you can't go in that direction. But if you do a quick turn in the other direction, it gets you out of the range of the weapon, and yeah. Okay. And then if you're going to knee the person, I'm going to give you the technique for this. Okay. Grab them again, or, okay. You're going to come around behind the person. Just turn real quick, grab the shoulders, and you're going to take a knee right in the I forgot the name of the term for the anus, I guess. That's it, anus. Okay. And you're going to nail as hard as you can right in there. What that does, okay, it doesn't necessarily hurt. It's just the person loses the control of their sphincter muscles. And they will have an immediate bathroom. It's over. And all you can say is tough. Okay. Courtesy Hal Brocious. Anyway, so that's what, yeah. And you're going, and you want to nail that knee up in there as high as you can. If you get too high at the base of the spine, then you run into more serious issue, though. Okay. Carrying a load is not as serious as structural injury to your backbone down there. That's what it's called.
Toxic.
What?
Toxic.
Causes. That's who was? Is someone?
Yeah.
Particularly some medical.
According to the news, Biden just 270. But anyway, where were we here? So that's one option. Okay, but I mean that will end a fight. It's not the nicest thing to do. But again, this comes back to telling your students I have never seen a fight. And in a street situation, you're concerned with your life, not nicely other people interpret what you did. Okay, that's secondary or tertiary. That's one. Okay, moving right along, John. Okay, again, where's the shiv? If you have nothing to do this afternoon, get an old toothbrush and file the handle. You're going to have a really... It's amazing what you take off kids in junior high school. Anyway, I'm going to tell you this one just real fast. This is when we had a wood shop. I guess the regular teacher was out for a few days, and so the kids, in their own creative minds, they convinced the teachers that they were making control handles for model airplanes. They were actually making brass knuckles out of wood. And we ended up confiscating about 15 or 20 of those little suckers. But anyway, but it's amazing what you can make out of things that are lying. Okay, back to the shit. Okay, he's coming in again. This time, have your attacker hold you on your right lapel, because that's, grab his right lapel. There, lapel, not shoulder, lapel. This part here. Has he got your, there we are. Oh, the other lapel. Or that one's even better. Because you see, what can, I need someone else here. Let me borrow, Will, let me have you get a couple people and see if I can show this here, because this is both a partial control, but it's also a bad situation to get into. If okay. If he grabbed, who's your partner?
John.
Pardon?
John.
Okay, John. What you do is grab his shirt on his left side, left side, like where his logo is, and turn your hand back so that your right forearm is against his chest as you come in. No, your left forearm, excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, now, if he can get against you that well, and t-shirt is not very threatening, but if you're wearing a jacket or something heavier, this can really inhibit your movement, because now you can't move in. He's trapped you from moving in. Okay, he can stab to his heart's delight, or your heart's delight. I'll say that. Okay, or okay. And again, if you try and rotate out of it, turn yourself clockwise. We'll turn yourself clockwise to get out of it. See, he's got all this time where he can stab you in all sorts of different places. Okay, so this is a really bad initial hold. Okay, so if someone grabs you, put that hand back up there. Okay, who can tell me what the easiest technique to go into is?
I don't know. I'm going down.
Right first.
Okay,
I'm rolling this.
there you go.
Sorry.
If he hasn't stabbed yet, your best bet is just to go into an elbow roll takedown, because once you go into that elbow roll, it'll take the knife away.
That's Kirby.
Yes.
So okay, here, and see hand position, if you're, the draw, where your hands are, is also
Yes.
one of the things that I consider. So if it's like this, if he comes here, go ahead. I'm gonna go the butterfly.
Right.
I'm gonna stop the forward. I don't know if I can't, maybe I can blow a knee out, I don't know. But he's not gonna get in here, because I'm gonna lock that up. Go for it, push it.
Okay, if you grab that and you go into a corkscrew.
From here, I can go out this way, or I can go this way.
That's that, yeah. Corkscrew. Let's go back again.
You must not here. I gotta deal with this.
Left side to right side. So I'm going left side. I'm grabbing left side.
Okay, your wrist lock. You've got a wrist lock left. How does a corkscrew work for you? Oh, no.
I guess my concern is, be close to the microphone. My concern is this grip. If he's got a good grip and I got this, I'm not sure I can overcome that without taking a knee, kicking him in the groin, doing something else.
Okay.
So that's why I worked this wrist lock that way first.
Okay. So if you can do that, yeah, and right, and the intent of that wrist lock essentially is you're going to break his wrist anyway, because it's just. We have all these locks and holes and pins and whatnots, but if we execute them to their full extent,
Potential.
9 times out of 10, something is going to break.
Stop.
That's the ultimate result of intent of the hold or lock. And so if you do that quick enough and hard enough, it's going to snap his wrist, and he'll lose a knife unless he's on drugs. Then it's a whole different ballgame. So anyway, what else can we do? Let's try to.
You start
Yes.
the very beginning of the attack, the grab, and the knife is behind his back. Similar to what you were talking about earlier. If that hand's back there, I don't know if it's a knife, a gun, or what, but I want to pin that elbow in so he doesn't pull it out.
Okay.
Right? Then I'm free to do whatever I want to do here, but don't let this arm come out from behind him.
Right.
I don't know what's in the hand at this point.
Right. Yeah, but you can prevent it's the same as if someone reaches behind their back, you have 2 choices. You either have to move in and trap, or you back up and get out of the way. Staying where you are is a real, how do you say, that's the number 1 danger zone where you're at right now. So, those are your 2 alternatives. Someone reaches into their pocket or they behind their back, you either have to take a couple steps back or pin their arm where it's at. Now, if you're going to pull out a gun, you taking a couple steps back isn't going to make any difference. Except you may be able to do a technique. Okay, and that's the reality of the gun. Assuming it's loaded, assuming it works, assuming it has the correct caliber bullet in it. I've seen the last one occur, and that's really embarrassing. Because if you put a too small caliber bullet into a gun, it has a tendency to jam up or they fall out or other embarrassing situations. Okay. Anything else we want to deal with on knife attacks this morning? Offhand. I didn't realize the topic would go so long.
Professor, if just a thought, if I might.
Yes.
One of the black belts that I've had the privilege of training here locally is also a major in the state police, and his primary area of expertise is he heads up the SWAT teams. And he said a fundamental part of SWAT team training where I'm at with knives is something as simple, and he said it's often overlooked and officers get hurt, completely palms in when you go up for any type of blocking with your arms. Because if you don't, you risk cutting into arteries here. And he said this is a better place to get cut.
Right.
And you can continue to function better. And so when we would drill it after that input from him, we always made sure we were everything palms in anytime we were doing the blocks, even if the blade was at a distance. And it was amazing how many times when we would do randori that way and we would use blades that left marks, you could still see where the marks were here, where if they had been here, it would have been bad news. So just something learned along the way from somebody who was training with me who showed me that benefit.
Right. I've never done that, but usually with blocking, if it's a low swipe, we'll come in with a backhand. And you are absolutely correct, and he's absolutely correct. better to get cut on the outside than on the inside, because there are really no arteries here. I mean, you know, and there's not as much muscle mass here as there that controls your hand and arm as there is on the inside. Yeah, so I'll usually block sideways, but it's not going to be, how do you say, it's not palms out. It's either palms are even or slightly in. Your number one rule is protect yourself.
Yes, sir.
So extend my compliments to your.
Yes, sir. I will.
He's absolutely correct. So the only other thing, again, to be concerned with if in dealing with knives is you need to ascertain whether it's a single edge or double edged weapon right away. If you cannot ascertain it, you assume it's a double edged weapon, just for your own safety. If who else deal with knife attacks offhand?
Sensei, just one thing we've done in our dojo that you might find helpful. Can people hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We will do knife sparring, and we do it multiple ways, but one is just to have somebody put on a white shirt and somebody else has a washable marker, and that is their knife. And you can then have them attack various ways. And the person who is unarmed is wearing that white shirt, and how well they defend themselves is measured by how much color's on that white shirt after they have executed their knife defense.
Okay.
The other way, if you want to do it, is to have knife sparring where both people have on a white shirt and both people hold a marker. Fights are fairly rare in the real world, and the bottom line is that might be a bit of overkill, but it's something that our students really look forward to the days when they see me come in with a whole stack of shirts they can put on over their gi and markers. It's something that's revealed that in our dojo, it seems gun takeaways are more effective with or without strikes, but with knife takeaways, if you are attempting to take away a knife from somebody without somehow including a strike, your chances for success seem to go way down. That's our experience. Does anybody else smarter than me have there's a lot of you smarter than me. Have anything to add, or do you have any experience with knife takeaways in your dojos?
The only thing I would say is that I've studied with Professor Dave Castoldi, who's out of Boston. His dad was the Masked Marvel, big old time wrestler. Some of those young guys remember him, and he specializes in a lot of knife and club stuff. And again, this is his philosophy that he's not into knife takeaways at all. He's making sure the knife is in their hand and then they fall on the knife. In other words, it's redirected. Here. It goes right back off of them, right? So, but he's not going to take the knife out of their hand. He's going to keep the knife in the hand. He's going to use a slash, all that kind of good stuff. You all right? But again, there are consequences to that action too. So if your position is you're going to make sure the knife is in his hand, never leaves his hand, and that after the ensuing struggle he falls on it and kills himself, okay, you got to be able to defend that.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
One thing. Okay. Again, your friend is correct. It's really you don't want to try to take your knife out of a person's hand. If you don't feel you can safely take it out of his hand, you don't attempt it, because it's not worth the risk. Your hand cut. If you've got a wrist press on him and you can sense that he's lost his grip or whatever, take the weapon away. And that goes for any weapon. But don't forcefully try and take any weapon away from a person, because it's just, you can get hurt. The other thing is, if the person has stabbed themselves, there are techniques I do teach where the person inadvertently stabbed themselves, where they slice themselves across this, the stomach and various other places, or they cut their own throat. It's very, and it's not intentional, it's just because that's where their body ends up doing when you're doing your technique. It's very important that if you have to handle the weapon after the person has cut themselves, is that you grab it with thumb and middle finger just at the hip and move it. You do not want to, persons stab themselves, you don't want to grab the handle and take it away that way, because now your prints are on the weapon. Okay, whereas if you only have 2 prints here, these prints are all over the place. No one can say you stabbed them. Do this. It doesn't work. So it's a really small thing, but God forbid you should ever be in that situation. And one of the issue is that, and when we're in a street situation, we don't think of all these small things. So if you train your students to do this, they will do it automatically eventually. It's like, and Jan will attest to this, and Darren's been in some of my classes, as has Dave. How do you say it? It used to be if you were practicing knife techniques and you were done being the attacker, you handed the knife to your partner. And that's a real bad habit, because unfortunately on the street, it's happened where a person has taken a knife away from their attacker, and then they hand it back to them just out of opportunity. Okay? So in the dojo, what I try to do, and I do it all the time, is once I've finished on a technique with a person who has a weapon and they're going to attack me again because we're practicing, you put the weapon down on the ground and let them pick it up. And that breaks the habit training, or you want to call it, of handing the weapon back to your attacker. Okay? Because there are enough stupid things that happen in a fight. You don't want to compound it. Anyway, anything else we want to take care of offhand, or?
When you talk about taking the weapon away, we actually train to take the weapon away, because unless that person's incapacitated, they still have a weapon in their hands, they're still a threat. But we also use verbal commands. Like, we'll try to get a lock or something and direct them to drop the gun, drop the knife, drop the club, whatever they have. For 2 reasons. One, you use your pain compliance to make them do what you want to do, but any witness clearly sees that you're the victim and not the aggressor, because you're pleading with the person to drop their weapon.
Yes, and I agree with you 100%, Will. Is your verbal, you have to have commands when you're defending yourself. Stop resisting, drop the weapon. Don't say, if you keep this up, I'll break your neck. But you need to verbally establish that you are the victim, so that people around you can. You are the victim. You are not the aggressor. And the one thing you do want to do, and I learned this from a highway patrolman decades ago. He said it's your voice is probably your most important tool. And if you can keep your voice low, that doesn't mean quiet. If you keep it low and calm, you're more likely to be successful in talking to another person. He said, if I went up to a person's car and in a high voice said, please see your license, the person would probably drive off. Okay, so as Will is saying, you've got to have verbal commands. They have to be clear. Keep them simple. Remember in the first grade or second grade when you read Dick and Jane, which today is probably sexist. You got to keep it at that level. See spot, run. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Okay. So yeah, that's we brought up a lot of really subtle things. I think Will, Dave, who mentioned it, it's a small thing. I think Thomas came up with something. These are things that normally don't come up when you're dealing with knife defenses. Okay. So I want to compliment all of you who came up with the little insights or other things that we might have otherwise normally missed. Okay, next seminar is on November 21st. Let me know if you want to be in on it. Okay. Otherwise, the normal guys I'll probably contact anyway. If you have any topics or there's something that we discussed here that you want to expand upon, that's fine. If you're interested in doing some sort of certification program for Jushin, you can just let me know by email, and I'll try and set something up probably for early next year. And maybe we'll try and do 2 or 3 Saturdays straight. I don't know, whatever we feel if we want to do it on alternating Saturdays, that's okay too. Okay. So I will get this out on YouTube. I'll link to it as soon as I get it done. And who knows what I'll title this one? Maybe be episode 4 Tanto. Okay.
Don't let them stick it to you.
Don't let them stick it to you. Don't let them stick it to you. Okay. Very good. One last thing before I forget, and that is, I've had the pleasure of knowing a lot of top sensei, and we all tend to be very serious because the topic we're dealing with is tremendously serious. And you can save a person's life. What I found is that most top sensei, particularly in jujitsu, have a really dry sense of sometimes it takes a while to, I used to think Wally J was very serious, and he is most of the time. But occasionally he'd do a slight slip of the tongue, a little tongue in cheek there, and you knew that the wheels were turning and he was having fun with what he was doing. If you can do this with your students occasionally, they see that you're human, and if they get it, it kind of, how do you say, it makes you feel good as a sense that they figured out what I was saying, but it also makes them feel good because they feel, oh, now I've gained some insight into the sensei. So it's just something to consider, and like I said, you establish your own relationship with your students and you do what works best for you. But sometimes a subtle bit of humor really gets a point across. Sometimes it takes a slight smile with it or wink of an eye, but it works. Anyway, enough of La Boca. All of you know what La Boca is?
What is that?
Thomas?
The bullshit?
Who knows what a boca is?
Your mouth.
The mouth, right? Boca. So sometimes I refer to myself as La Boca, because I do talk too much. Anyway, next week, time we hope to have Darren and his whole crew back. And I do appreciate all of you being here and made for a really nice morning. It came off a lot better than I anticipated, and there was a good exchange of ideas. So I want you to have a good weekend. I hope the presidential election calms down and approaches some level of sanity, so that we can all go on with our lives and deal with more important things. Anyway. Anyhow, so I want to again thank you for being here. So I guess that's about it for today.
Thank you,
Thank
Sensei.
you for sharing.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Pleasure.
Hey, Will.
Hey, Lonnie. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Will.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.